Hey everyone, this is Board Game Brody with Parks from Keymaster Games. Parks is a collaboration between 59 Parks print series and Keymaster Games. The artwork comes from the print series, which features more than 40 artists around the world. These illustrations highlight 45 national parks across the United States. The game is a worker placement set collection game where you can take the role of two hikers and trek through different trails throughout the 4 different seasons. While hiking, you'll take actions and collect memories of places the hiker has visited. When finishing the trail, the season ends, and the trail changes and grows for the next season. You'll be using campfires, canteens, and different gear to improve your access to resources in hopes to visit specific or more parks. Let's set up the game. The park cards are shuffled and placed here. 3 cards are dealt out, and these are the main way to score points. You will need to pay the resources shown on the bottom of the card to visit the park and gain the card, and the card is worth the number stated on the bottom left. The gear cards are shuffled and placed here. Again, 3 cards are dealt out. The cost to buy the gear is listed on the top right and as always requires sun tokens to buy them. Cards can give you extra actions when landing on certain spaces, give you more flexibility by giving you a choice to gain a certain resource, or even helps lower a resource cost when visiting a park. The Canteen Cards are shuffled and 1 is dealt out face up to each player. These cards will let you pay a water token to gain the ability listed on the card. Some of these will give you more valuable resources like a mountain or a tree, while others might let you take different actions. You can only add water to your canteen and perform this action if you gain the water on that turn. Now you can have any number of canteens, but once you've filled your canteen, it will remain filled until the end of the season. This means that you can only use each canteen once per season. The season cards are shuffled and 1 is flipped face up. This card will add an effect to the game that will only last for this season. Sometimes this causes you to gain additional resources when receiving a certain type of resource. Others might add resources on top of the park cards to gain when you are visiting those parks. There are 4 seasons in the game, so you'll be using 4 of these cards total. As you can see that there is enough cards in this deck to change the game each and every time that you play it. A season ends when all players make it to the end of the trail. The trail will now need to be set up. The Trailhead Tile will always start the trail, and players will eventually place their hikers here to start. You will have 5 basic site tiles, 4 advanced site tiles that are marked with an asterisk on the bottom right, and then if playing a 4 to 5 player game, then you will use the waterfall site, and you will add it with the basic site tiles. You will then take all the basic site tiles and add 1 random advanced site tile, shuffle them, and place them randomly from left to right, starting after the trailhead. After placing all the tiles, you will place the trail end tile to the end on the right side. Just make sure that the trail end tile isn't on the solo side if you are not playing the solo mode. Now let's go back to the season card. You might note that there is a weather pattern on each of these cards. Starting with the second trail site, you will place the indicated tokens from the weather pattern on the trail. 1 per site from left to right, repeating the pattern until the trail end. Players will then start with their 2 hikers, a campfire token that matches their player color, a random canteen that was dealt to them face up, and then 2 year cards that will be dealt out to each player. These cards will have some in-game goals that you can achieve to gain some extra points. These might consist of paying a certain amount of resources for the parks that you visit in the game, gaining a certain type of park during the game, taking a certain amount of pictures during the game, or any combination of all those. Players will choose one of these cards to keep and return the other to the deck. All hikers will then be added to the trailhead. The player who last visited a park will take the first player marker, and the player to their right gets the camera. The first player marker is worth a point at the end of the game, so during play you can get the first player marker when taking the reserve a park action. The first player starts, and on their turn they will pick one of their hikers to move from a site of their choice down trail, which would be anything to the right of their current location. When landing on a site, the player will perform the action on that site. This tile lets you gain 2 sun tokens. This tile lets you gain 2 water tokens. This tile lets you gain a tree token. This tile lets you gain a mountain token. This tile lets you either take a new canteen card or you can take a picture. Taking a picture costs 2 resource tokens of any kind if you don't have the camera. Once you pay the 2 tokens, you will as well take the camera from the player who has it. If you perform this action and have the camera, then it will only cost you 1 resource token of any kind. Also, at the end of the season, whoever has the camera can take a photo for a discounted rate if they wish to do so. After paying your resources, you'll take one of the picture tokens. Each picture token has different pictures on them, but they are all worth 1 point. This tile is only used in a 4 or 5 player game and lets you take 1 sun and 1 water token. This tile lets you trade 2 of your tokens for 2 of any other tokens that isn't the same as the tokens that you exchanged with. You also can't take the wildlife tokens during this action. Just to mention it, the wildlife tokens are wilds and can be used to fulfill the requirement of any of the other tokens. This tile lets you spend a water to take the action of another site occupied by another hiker, but you cannot use this for the trail end. This tile lets you reserve a park, visit a park, or buy a gear card. This tile lets you spend any 1 token to gain a wildlife token. Also, players can only have 12 tokens at a time. If you have more, you will need to discard down to 12 at the end of your turn. When taking actions, if another hiker or even your own hiker is already occupying a site, then it cannot be visited unless you use your campfire. You will flip your campfire token over from the lit side to the smoky side to show that you used it. Whenever one of your hikers visits the end trail tile, you will be able to reset your campfire and flip it back over to be used again by your other hiker. Also, if your hiker is the first to land on a site with a token from the weather pattern, they get to take it as a bonus along with adding the site's action. After taking your chosen actions on the tiles, you will eventually make it back to the end of the trail tile. Again, here you will reset your campfire and then choose which of the 3 different actions that you would like to take. You can reserve a park, which lets you take one of the park cards to claim sometime later and get you the first player marker. Buying gear gives you extra benefits on trail sites, or it makes it easier to visit the parks. You will select one of the 3 gear cards and turn in the number of sun tokens that it costs. Most cards have an ongoing ability, but if there is a lightning bolt symbol, then that is an instant action and should be done at that moment. Also, if you are the first one to be able to buy gear this season, then you will get a discount of 1 sun. In a 4 to 5 player game, there will be another discount available for a second player as well. The last action that you can take is visiting a park. You'll pay the resources, take the park card that you visited, and then you will flip over a new card from the deck to replace it. There will always be 3 park cards and 3 gear cards available to all players. Once there is only 1 hiker left on the trail, the player must move the hiker to the trail end and choose an action there. This marks the end of the season. The player with the camera can then take a picture by paying one of their resources, and then you will reset for the next season. By discarding all water tokens used on canteens, you will return all hikers to the trailhead. All the trail sites will be gathered, and an additional advanced site will be added. These will now all be shuffled and laid out randomly to form the trail again. A new season card will be revealed, and a new weather pattern is added to the trail as before. You will now have a new season effect, and you will read it out so all players know what the effect is. The player with the first player marker will then start the new season, taking their first turn. When the 4th season ends with the final photograph opportunity, the game is over. Players will reveal their year cards and score the points from their park cards, photos, and personal bonus from the year card. The player who has the first player token also gains 1 point. The player with the most points is the winner of parks. If tied, the player who visited the most parks wins. Wow, now this game is now in my top 5 for the year. The game is simple to teach, yet there is so much strategy in how you do your actions and turns. Like when there's only 1 hiker left, they have to move them directly to the trail end tile. Use this rule strategically to limit another player's action. Also know that if this is you, then you might want to take the most desired action if you think that the other hiker will be heading to the trail end. Also, using your campfire wisely can help you spend more time on the trail doing the actions that you need and want to do. These tips are mentioned in the rulebook, and they're very crucial when playing the game because what one player does affects all the other players. In the game, you might want to move onto a trail site over another just to block all the other players. But all the other players might also be doing the same for you and blocking you. For this reason, that campfire token is very valuable and you need to use it wisely. I like how there can be so many different strategies in the game as well. Some players go after the water to fill up their canteens and collect many different canteen cards to get additional resources. Other players might spend more time on the gear cards and using those to have more advantages. There also is a resource management mechanic where you need to make sure that you don't have 12 resources, which is the max, and both of your hikers are near the beginning of the trail because you won't be able to pick up any of the resources. But occasionally, when the lookout tile is placed near the beginning of the trail, then you can benefit from it by having resources, while other players might not be interested in it at all. I love the opportunities of combos as well. Smart playing using the season effect, your canteens, and your gear cards can really make a great turn. I like how all the picture tokens are all unique, and the publisher could have simply made this all the same, but instead you get to look at different pictures taken when using the camera. Also with the wildlife tokens, I like picking the ones I like, but again the publisher could have made the same shape for the tokens instead of making them all unique. The first player token is metal and feels great in your hands. Also the game trays insert is amazing as it packs this game in a very compact box, saving you room on the shelf. It makes it very easy to set up and tear down. The art is top notch and will win awards for it for sure. The artwork is licensed from the 59 Park print series. Their website is 59parks.net, so go check them out as well. Also, a percentage of all sales from this game will be donated each year to the National Park Service. You can also see that I use this cool playmat, which isn't necessary, but gives the game a better feel and a nicer look. The mat is sold separately from the game. Ultimately, there is so much to discover in this game, and the strategy changes from game to game with certain players, with different cards, and it'll be a keeper on my shelf for sure. Again, this is Parks by Keymaster Games. If you like what you see, then go buy it. Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.